miss it. I'm going to start over, okay? Welcome, Chántelle. Chántelle is our facilitator for today. She is a Nigerian-American literary artist, international award-winning self-published author, spoken word, poet, and self-love wellness enthusiast. She is currently based in LA. Her memoir titled My Soul Told on Me was self-published in 2019. Originally from the DMV, she's been writing since the age of 10 as a form of self-expression. Chántelle is known for being fearless and ruthless in her vulnerability, courageous in her ability to speak, and fluid in her ability to authentically convey her feelings. And today's workshop is a crash course on incorporating gentleness and gratitude in your writing of poetry and creative nonfiction literary pieces. Okay, Chántelle, take it away. I'll be in the background in case you need me, but
Okay.
our writers usually don't need me.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Buenos dias. It is a good feeling to be here and to honestly just share my work. And I know that this group is very consistent. I've been following Dominican writers for a while, so I just love the consistency of the platform and just being able to create a safe space for writers like us to share and do so authentically and effectively. So really excited for our workshop today, and it is going to be very interactive. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. And if you want to share anything that I initiate, also don't be scared to ask. Yes, and thank you so much for that introduction. So hope everything is going well with everyone where you are, and I'm looking forward to jumping in. Let me know when you can see my screen. Can you see it? Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Okay. All righty. Good morning again, everyone. The Joys of Gentleness is the name of this workshop, and it is a virtual healing workshop navigating through grief when writing, and again, trying to find moments of gentleness and gratitude within our everyday lives, within our everyday routines, which then affects us mentally, emotionally, and then trickles down to our writing and our creativity and how we emote. So on today's agenda, I honestly want to start with identifying what grief is, what that looks like, what that means to us and for us, as it is different for everyone. We all know. Grief can be connected to a person, grief can be connected to a thing, grief could be connected to a time. Grief could be connected to ourselves, right? Previous versions of ourselves that we may grieve, but all of that emotion or disconnect that we may feel trickles down into how we are able to show up for ourselves in the world. And so I want to take this time in this workshop to really start the process of taking inventory of how we feel mentally and emotionally and how that connects to, again, how we show up for ourselves in this life and how it affects our writing, of course. Number two, then we're going to go into identifying how it shows up in our bodies physically. So I actually, you learn something new every day, and I wasn't aware until I would say in the more recent years that what you go through mentally and emotionally is not just mental and emotional. It is something that also shows up physically. And the more or sooner you're aware of it, the sooner you're able to give your body what you need, and not just what it may want for a temporary fix, but something that is actually useful, healing, and beneficial to you. And see. So we'll go into how it affects your creativity. And then lastly, we'll talk about how do you plan to implement grace, gratitude, and gentleness within yourself, and then, of course, within your writing. Right. Okay. So grief, the textbook definition is a deep sorrow, especially as it pertains to the death of someone, the loss of someone. How I choose to define it is a deep sorrow deriving from unbearable pain or confusion as it pertains to the death of someone or something. And the reason that I added confusion is because sometimes we're not always at the respectable age when grief hits us, and it can cause confusion as to, okay, what does that mean for who I am now, especially if you attached yourself or any part of your identity was attached to the thing or the person that you lost. And so that's why I added confusion. I want to take about 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, 5 to 8 minutes, depending on how you guys are feeling, for you to take time and define what grief means to you. And I'll play some music in the background, but let me know if anyone has any questions thus far. But I do want everybody to take time to just define what grief looks like for you. And then if anyone wants to share after that time, we'll do that. If not, we'll continue to move along. I'm gonna start the timer. And I'm gonna play the music. Let me know if you can hear it and if this is good for you. Can you guys hear that?
I can't hear anything.
No?
No.
How about now?
Kind of. Not really.
No, it's still low? Okay. You hear that? Is that better? Oh, I'm sorry, no one can hear. 1 second. Let me try to fix it on my end. But yes, you guys are good. Have about 7 more minutes on the clock. Let me know if you'd like me to put the clock on the screen, but I thought it would be helpful if I just kept the prompt up. Welcome to everyone who just came in. We are taking time, pen and paper, to define what grief means to us. The purpose of this activity is to increase self-awareness of what we know grief to be to us and not how other people choose to define it. The clearer vision we have on what things mean to us and how they show up for us, the clear path and mindset we can have when it goes into navigating through what we're going through or expressing our feelings verbally or through our writing. Have about 6 more minutes. We have about 1 minute, just checking in with time. Again, if you just came in late, the prompt or the activity right now is us defining what grief means to us. And at the end, if anybody wants to, we will give the opportunity to share. All right, that is the timer. That is the timer. I hope you guys took time to really think about the prompt. Would anybody like to share? If so, feel free to just take yourself off mute and share.
I can share. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
So yeah. So this just, don't judge too harshly. If what is grief? I had to learn to understand it. It's something you read about in books and see in movies, but you cannot understand it. You cannot really see it because it's within every person, manifesting in different ways on its own time schedule. Like the uniqueness of a snowflake, every grief is unique to a person. And like stubborn elephants, we don't forget our losses. We just learn to live with them. But it does get better. But sometimes the pain will hit you like the first day when you smell something, hear a sound, see a picture, or remember. It never ends. It's how we keep people alive. It's how we keep the past alive. We don't just grieve people, we grieve ideas. We grieve across distance. We grieve feelings, hopes, and dreams, or moments that were and will never be. We grieve small things and big things, but small and big are subjective. At the same time, it's a human experience all that time. And there are similar roads we walk through, like how hard all the first are, or seeing the world move on while we stay grieving, or how we desperately try to hold on to belongings and material things to hold on to them, to it. How hard it is when the anniversaries come, how hard it is to go to the cemetery because it's a real reminder of what we lost. And then I was
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. That was beautiful. I love all the analogies you used, especially with the snowflake and elephants. Elephants are my favorite animals, and snowflakes are very intricate and they're very delicate, and they're easy to overlook. But they are very essential to how life unfolds, right? So thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate that. That was really, really beautiful. Susanna, I think you were next. Please, yeah, take yourself off mute and share. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. And thank you for this workshop. And
Yes.
thank you for that beautiful piece,
Oh,
Idan. That was beautiful that you just
yeah,
read.
it really was.
Yeah. I wrote my definition was a feeling of loss, something missing from your very being, a claw in the chest, a knot in the throat. That moment when you realize the person with whom you want to share your joy, sorrow, or fear is no longer on the other end of the telephone. It is coming face to face with the reality of loss. And with it, we also face the entire fabric of creation and our delicate and precious, and the delicate, precious reality of our lives.
Beautiful. Yes, yes. I love the two analogies that you used as well in the beginning, because again, it's a feeling and it shows up in our bodies, right? Yeah, I know those feelings all too well. Gloria, would you like to share? Take yourself off mute.
Yes. How ironic that grief is a topic of this morning's DWA workshop. I finally came back to the Sunday workshop after feeling better and ready to write. The topic is grief, and it's chilling, maybe alarming, maybe prophetic. What's the right words? The first month last year, after major back surgery, a 6-hour surgery that fused my spine. Was it in the first month? I really can't recall. It felt so dreamlike. But I was standing in my apartment when I told somebody I have so much grief in this body of mine. I just felt it and I knew it. And I don't even know who I said it to, but I said it. So maybe I said it to myself. This sorrow in my body is ancient and it's old and I'm living with. And it was a clarity that I announced that was truly, really for me, because the other person I can't even remember. But I knew and I understood the depth of grief trapped inside me. And for this next 10 months, I found myself crying constantly. And I felt intensely vulnerable and intensely sensitive. It was, a universe of grief lives inside my body. And some of this I call ancestor sorrows, ancestor lágrimas, that I carry of my grandmothers. But then I have to remember, if I carry the lágrimas, I also carry the joys. And for today, I'm grateful to be feeling better. And I still find this topic very ironic. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing. That was beautiful. And I always say that everything happens for a reason, so nothing is a coincidence. I appreciate you showing up for yourself and sharing that. This is helping me just as much as it's helping you guys, so I love it. Elvis, did you want to go ahead and take yourself off mute and share? And then Avery?
Okay, yes. I wrote a short definition in Spanish. I'm gonna read it and a try that I did for a translation. The original is, for me, grief is apego a las almas o los espíritus que en algún momento de esta vida nos acompañaron y que por alguna razón parece que en el presente no están cerca de nosotros. I did a translation that will be something like, it's a crave for the company of the souls or spirits that at some point in this life accompanied us and that for some reason seem not to be close to us at the present moment.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, guys. Okay. Ivory, would you like to share?
Sure, thank you. Grief is that accessory that you carry without consciously putting it on in the morning. You intentionally pick out a scarf, wooden earrings, and just the right color handbag to make the statement you want to make to the world that day. Statements like, I'm here, I'm bold, or sometimes just statements like, I'm hiding, I'm just getting by. Somehow grief adds itself to that outfit. Some days it clashes with your outfit, leaving you wondering, why did I wear these bright, bold colors anyways? Other days it blends right in with the drab. But then you notice that grief is not a muted tone of gray or brown, not beige, not the color of mud or smoke or sand. You realize that grief is also loud and bright and colorful. You realize that grief is bright like jugo natural, like un mango maduro, like the sun at Boca Chica, rich like hojas de plátano. Because grief, like joy, refuses to hide.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. That was so beautiful. I love all these analogies you guys are using. Marita, would you like to take yourself off mute and share?
And yeah, I want that poem. I need to. I need to print that. I loved it. That was very good. All right, so let me go. For me, this is funny as well because I'm really grieving today. So I don't even know. You might want to. I'm going to just write to say what I wrote. Okay.
We're here for you.
So, death of another me with him, me with me while I was with him, me with those dreams, death again, lost again, here again, one more time. Tears, headaches, sleepless thoughts and confusion, phone calls with loved ones, relationships, postmortems, red flag reports, and little voices validated. Grief is the liberation of another me, a new version, unaware of the current drama, lost and landed on new and unknown waters. Waters floating with tears, breathing uneasily, something that hurts long enough to stop your heart. Chamomile tea, tecito verde, breathe, relájate. Why do you always get like this? Aliviate los sueños. Doesn't really work. Verbena soap to cleanse from the pain, candles and incense to cut the throat of the pain, runny nose, floating for another escape. Maybe one more country, maybe one new city, because everything reminds me of you again. Grief is stolen. Grief is a piece of broken glasses and blood unshed. Grief is what could have been. Grief is for what is. Grief is for what will never be.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. I want that poem as well. I want everyone's poem. I love it. It's so beautiful, and it makes this experience what it's supposed to be, because grief is not linear. Life is not linear. So this is beautiful. Yaneris, did I say your name right?
Yes.
Okay.
I just kind of wrote things on a piece of paper, so that's how it goes. Grief, my definition, losing someone / something that will never come back in the way that you needed it or remember it. Grief is confusing, especially for a child. When a child goes through losing anyone, especially a parent, they are now in a constant shift of how roles play in their lives and how quickly those roles can disappear. Grief is getting older and realizing we don't have as much time as we used to. Each day we have less and less time. Grief is witnessing someone else's grief and wishing you can repair everything they lost. Grief is watching someone lose themselves, and although they are still physically here, who they used to be will never return. I've seen whole souls die after their loved ones passed. They too left with no intention of returning or transforming. Grief lives with that parentless child, even in her 30s, 20 plus years after their parent is gone. They grieve all the time they did not spend together.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Thank you so much to everyone who shared. This workshop is not ironic. We're all grieving. We've been grieving for a very long time. And I think specifically for people of color, our grief shows up very differently, and it could show up a little bit more repetitively. And so I just want to thank you all for taking time, because too much and too often we don't take the time to really sit and reflect what we need. We're always going based off of what people think we should do or what society tells us we need. And they've never had our best interest in heart at the core. So very important to take this time to reflect and sit with your definitions and sit with what feelings came up or showed up for you as you were writing. I know it's hard. I know it's tough. I know it's something that we'd much rather not do. But like someone said in their poem, there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is another side. There is hope to get over, to get through. There's no rush. So take your time, but just know that it's not the end. If you're still here, that's a testament. So again, thank you guys. That was so beautiful. And I will keep moving along if nobody else has anything else to share. Okay, so what is your grief attached to? I think a lot of you hit this in your pieces that you did share, but this is just something that I really thought of when I was thinking about grief, and you guys actually brought up more ideas that grief could be attached to and how it shows up for us. So you already hit on grieving being attached to past versions of ourselves, the loss of family, friends, the loss of an era, of a time. Life is continuously happening on a rolling basis, and just the realization that how things are right now is not how they will be in the next month, 6 months, year, 2 years, is a constant action of adaptability and change that we have to adjust to, right? And it's just important to know that loss, grief is not just of tangible things. And actually, in fact, I think someone could argue that it's more intangible than anything. It's the things that nobody can buy you, nobody can really see. It's really about the feeling, the energy that you're trying to recreate or make reappear in your life. And some things just can't be duplicated, right? So how does it affect you? Where does it show up in your body? Lack of concentration? Is it lack of motivation? Is it increased moodiness? Is it increased isolation? Is it the latter, right? And then how does that affect your writing or not? And I'll just share, I want to give us like 5 minutes to answer all of these questions, maybe answer none of the questions, but at least have them down. But I just want to share that in the past 2 years, I've experienced grief on a level that is really gruesome and almost unbearable. And so this year was just such a testament of finding out what Chántelle needs and how to get myself there, how to nurture myself where I needed to be. I'm a Cancer, shout out to any of the Cancers. So I'm very emotional and sensitive, and I wear my heart on my sleeve. But at the same time, sometimes that sensitivity and emotional side of me can be so deep. Like, I don't feel things surface. I feel them below the surface. I feel them for what they truly are. And that can be overwhelming sometimes, to the point where I numb myself to feeling and I got used to that feeling. And although it's a temporary fix, just like a temporary high, it does nothing for my being. It does nothing for me actually living and being here, because my emotions and my sensitivity and is how I connect with people. That's how we get to what life is really about. So I say that to say that if anybody has ever felt bad about grieving or feeling or what it may be attached to, or if you've been feeling guilty about not showing up for yourself in the way that you would have liked to, extend yourself grace, extend yourself gratitude, be gentle with yourself, be generous with yourself. We're the first people to extend that to anything outside of us. But when it comes to us, for some reason, we always give ourselves the bare minimum. And today we're going to implement things to change that. So please just take 5 minutes and answer these questions for yourself. What is grief attached to for you? What is your grief attached to? It could be one word. You can write a piece. You don't have to share it. It's really just to get it out. How do you think grief affects you? Where does it show up in your body that you've noticed? And how does this affect your writing / creativity? I'm going to put the timer on for about 5 minutes, and then I will check back in with you guys. Anybody have any questions? Maybe looking at the chat too. And thank you so much, guys, for the love and support in the chat. I love this. Yes, so I'm going to go ahead and put the timer on, and you guys have 6 minutes. You guys have about 1 minute on the clock starting now. All right, that is time. Did anybody want to share? I think we could have like 2 or 3 people share. If not, no worries, we'll move on, but I just wanted to give the opportunity. All right.
I can go if no one else wants to go.
Okay, yeah, please.
Okay. So I took the piece for like inspiration rather than definitions. So for me, it's attached to loss of a past version, like a fracatán. I don't know how to say that in English. It's like a scratch card. You know, the lottery scratch card?
Yes.
Yeah. So guayao otra vez, which means it's a disappointment, the failure, the problem, el problema todavía sin resolver, no solutions, las explicaciones, cause and effect, justified to el pueblo. It's that time to show up, to get there, to try, to gamble it again, putting all those emotions in la tómbola, in the lottery, holding that coin, scratching the surface, numbers one by one revealing, deeply concentrating, llamando a todos los santos, pero zafa coño, not again, broke again, pela otra vez, tira la toalla, you go far, you didn't win, you lost, arrancado sin ni un chele, just broke again.
Love that. The contrast, the analogies, the teeter tatter and back and forth. It's so prevalent to how grief is. Like, it's not linear. It's not linear. You go through so many ebbs and flows. Thank you so much for sharing. Does anybody else want to share? Yes, please, Elvis.
Okay, I'm gonna share my my translation of this. I wrote that for me is 2 situations. The first is a lot of anxiety, defeatist thoughts, which do not allow writing practice to be a contemplative exercise. Or is the second situation? There is a meditative exercise where I inject a certain sad and melancholic air into each letter, each word, each description, each paragraph, where it doesn't matter what I write about. The only thing I want is to dye the text with humidity, with worm-eaten walls, black and green, consumed by insensate rainy days.
Yes, thank you so much. Did you want to share it in Spanish too?
Okay. I didn't want to do it so too long, but the original is son 2 situaciones, una que es una suma ansiedad, pensamientos derrotistas que no permiten que la práctica de escritura sea un ejercicio calmo y contemplativo, o puede ser un ejercicio meditativo donde inyecto de cierto aire triste y melancólico cada letra, cada palabra, cada descripción, cada párrafo, donde no importa sobre lo que escriba, lo único que quiero es teñir el texto de humedad, de paredes carcomidas, negras y verdes, consumidas por incesantes días lluviosos.
Thank you. Yes, 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 yes. Oh, so beautiful. Anybody else would you like to share before we move on? Okay. Susanna, would you like to share? Sorry.
I think I will. I'm challenging
Okay.
myself to be vulnerable here,
Yeah.
although it's very, okay. Chántelle explains she feels grief deeply because she is a Cancer. I think at first she is defining herself by a disease, but then realize we are talking cosmos, her Cancer being a constellation in the firmament. I realize my present grief comes from the fact that I may have Cancer, not a beautiful cosmic collection of stars glistening in an indigo sky, but a collection of cells that may have turned traitor in my body. But this grief is not exactly because I know I have a disease, but oddly enough, because no one can say concisely and clearly that I do, but want to remove a myriad of my organs, examine them under microscopes, and then tell me yes or no. I grieve my vulnerability. I grieve that I came too close to dying due to the last exploratory intervention, and now they want to do an even larger and more dangerous one. I grieve the loss of autonomy, of being stuck here in the US, waiting for doctor's appointments when I want to be on the streets and beaches of San Juan. I grieve that I feel so vital and well and whole, yet doctors say I may be in danger. I grieve the known future lost, because I saw the angels and I am not ready to go with them.
Thank you so much for sharing. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. Yes. Wow, okay. I'm not gonna cry. All right, next slide. This is purpose. And I wanted you guys to focus, list 2 to 3 ways that you'd like to forgive yourself when grieving. I want you to focus on grace, gratitude, gentleness, and generosity. How can you implement these new ways into your everyday routine? How can you celebrate, appreciate, and acknowledge yourself even when you're not feeling your best? And this is so important to me because we have to be our own biggest cheerleaders, similar to what Susanna just shared, is that what was so prevalent from what you shared was that your spirit and how you feel internally is the complete opposite of what people are telling you that you should feel or what you should be looking out for. And that's not to say that we aren't taking professional advice seriously, but it is also to honor our own bodies and to honor how we feel and to be very present in the bodies that are hosting our spirits, right? I think it's just a testament that we are not just flesh. We've never been just flesh. And I think the sooner that you can honor yourself in a multi-dimensional way, as the multi-complex beings that we are, the sooner you can get to truly living without judgment of yourself, free of judgment of yourself, and free of caring of the judgment of others, because judgment of others will be there, right? That's something that we cannot change. All we can do is change is how we respond to it or how it does or does not affect us. And so in the society where so much negativity is spewed too often and is promoted and emphasized too often, I want to reclaim that time, that energy back, and I want you to focus on how you're forgiving yourself in moments when you're not gentle with yourself, when you feel like you're blaming yourself, how you can implement that gentleness, that generosity, that gratitude to yourself, and how you can implement it in your everyday routine. Focus on how you can intentionally celebrate, appreciate, and acknowledge yourself, but especially in the moments when you are not feeling your best. So we will take about 9 minutes for this. Again, this can be a piece. You can write this in a list form. These can literally be affirmations that you're setting up for yourself that you're going to write on sticky notes and post wherever you need it to. I just want you to celebrate yourself. Take that time, take this time right now to do so. You have nowhere else to be, no other obligations but to celebrate, acknowledge, appreciate yourself. I'm going to set the timer for, I'll do 10 minutes. And then we will reconvene. And of course, whoever would like to share can share. We have about 5 more minutes. Does anybody need more time? If so, I don't want to interrupt, but if everybody was kind of done. Okay, I'll give you guys the 5 minutes. have about 1 minute left, and then we will share or move on, or both. All right, that is time. Would anyone like to share? Yes, please unmute yourself and give it to us.
I'm going to read this, but I want to say this. I really appreciate this because I haven't been able to write this before.
Yes.
It's very rough. There was a pivotal moment delivered by a drunk driver, or at least in my mind and opinion, he was drunk. The guy with the vehicle who crashed, his black livery car, he was a monster who sped through a red light. 96 in Madison, and I saw him coming in a rearview mirror, and I knew I'd be hit. And I knew that I only had minutes to prepare because his car was flying straight through the box, and I braced myself for what was to come. Decades later, I realized there was a gift that despite the pain, despite the career loss, despite the turmoil, despite the loss of economic standing, despite the years in pain clinics, despite the pain medication given by doctors who didn't care in a system that didn't give a fuck about me, despite all of that, I came to love myself. I came to love my body, which is the same body that had been abused repeatedly by men who took, the same body that I was taught to hate, that through this chaos, I found love, and I found love for her because I knew I could not heal this body of mine if I was at war with her. So I loved her and she loved me back. Thank you.
That was so beautiful. Thank you so much. That last line. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. Everyone who shares, thank you, because I know this isn't easy. I know it's not easy. If anybody else would like to share, please do unmute. Yes, Ivory, we'd love to hear from you.
The next time I am grieving, I want to slip myself a hall pass. Not the type of hall pass that people call upon when they want to step out on their marriage. No, I do not want to cheat on a marriage. I want to cheat on grief. I want to treat myself with so much grace that grief gets tangled in its own web. I want to wrap myself in generosity, paint my body in rich purple hues that whisper words in my ear like, you are exactly where you are supposed to be right now. And even, you are exactly who you're supposed to be right now. I want to cheat on grief with the blood pumping through my veins, spreading to all parts of my body the way the sepsis did a year ago. Only this time, instead of spreading infection, I will spread greatness. I want to cheat by treating myself with gentleness and generosity.
Thank you. That was beautiful. I love the flip on being suffocated or cheating. I love that because all of those have negative connotations. And so that's what it's about, channeling different energies, and flipping the face, showing the other side, because life is beautiful. It's just about your perspective. Yes, Elvis, please share.
Okay, now I wrote directly in English, so let's try. I wrote three ideas, like three ways. I think of these concepts: compassion, try to generally develop this thing that is something like the absence of desire to harm, and bring a space to what happened inside of me. I think in daily routines, like the connections with the small things and the little sparkles behind them, the routine of coffee in the morning, the routine of yerba mate in the afternoon, thinking into the past and return to the present, and then back again to the past, all this while I am commuting. Return to home at night and wear that bracelet that I found so cute. When I don't feel my best, maybe a way to celebrate that is acknowledging that feeling, that know my best, embracing that, stop to see that, and even celebrate the feeling. I don't feel good, and I don't have to feel in any other way right now. Just breathe and be. Try to discover how's life when I'm not my best.
Yes, thank you so much. I loved when you said, maybe when I don't feel my best, I'll just acknowledge that I don't feel my best. And that'll be me celebrating and acknowledging and appreciating myself. Because sometimes that's what it is, right? Not ignoring how you feel, not ignoring where you are. That is the epitome of honoring and respecting who you are in this life, is not brushing it off because it appeases, it satisfies other people. So just being honest with yourself from jump. I love that. Yeah, and I love the what you pointed out too, Susanna, the small things, the little sparkles behind them. That's beautiful. Because life is truly magical if you really take time to look. Yes, yes. Did anybody have anything else to share? Okay, we're gonna move right along. All right. So this can actually, I'm looking at the time, this can probably be homework for you. And I actually did email the PowerPoint, so you guys will have it as a PDF. But I want you guys, you can start it right now. Again, this can be in list form, this can be in a poem format, paragraph format, but I want you to take time. I want you to take time being gentle, and I want you to write yourself a love letter. I want you to take 5 minutes of your day to be generous, and I want you to list new ways that you can be generous to yourself. I want you to extend yourself grace, and I want you to write yourself an apology. This apology can be in whatever format, wherever you feel like it's coming from, but just know that it's very important to not beat yourself up, because everyone is going through something and it looks different for everyone. And lastly, gratitude, 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 gratitude. What are you thankful for? There's so many things that we can be thankful for. And be sure to list the uncomfortable yet teachable moments. And excuse me, because it's my first time with this group, but clearly there is no hindrance or hesitancy, with actually being honest and vulnerable and taking accountability for what's uncomfortable with you guys. You guys have been very open and honest, and I really do appreciate that. Even if you didn't share, I just feel the energy on the call. So I wanted to just let you know I appreciate you guys for that. So yes, let me know if you have this down. If anybody has something that they would like to share just kind of off the top of their head, you can unmute yourself and do so. But if not, definitely just make sure you have these things down because this is your homework. And let me know when you're good so I can go to the next slide. Good. Okay. Okay. All right, moving right along. All right, friends, so we've gone through so much in this workshop. We've released, we've shared beautiful and ugly things. And we've really just set time aside today to be in our feelings. And that is such a beautiful and necessary thing. I think even the phrase being in your feelings has such a negative connotation when in reality, it's so much of who we are, right? Like I said, we are not just flesh, we feel, we react, and those are based off of the emotions that develop in our bodies. So these are just some takeaways. Please tend to yourself and your experiences with ease. Again, extending yourself grace and gratitude. Practice letting go of tension, guilt, and shame, or even feelings of inadequacy. And please remind yourself that you are able, you're worthy of love, no matter what you were told, no matter what you weren't told. I'm telling you today that you are worthy of love from yourself first before anyone else. One of the hardest realities is facing when the concepts of emotional intelligence or awareness are lost on you. And that can happen at any stage of grief or any stage of feeling things. So again, take time and don't resort to blaming yourself because that honestly fixes nothing. It might sound good from an external point of view, but again, those are from people in a society that were never for us anyway. So just remember that it's very important to pour back into yourself. And we will be moving right along if nobody has any questions or anything to say. Here we go. All right. So this is our last sharing space if you would like to. I just want to know how you would like to implement more gentleness, right? This workshop is centered around the joys of gentleness. And if you notice the way I structured it, I focused on what hinders us from being gentle with ourselves in the first place, right? Which is a lot of times it is grief, or it's the feeling of pain, or it's anger, but that sorrow, sadness is always the primary emotion. And then on top of that, the secondary emotion comes anger from unresolved pain. That's what it is. And so I wanted to work backwards and emphasize the fact that it's really important in order for you to be gentle with yourself. You have to know what you are feeling. You have to know how it shows up for you so you're able to be more familiar with it and then use mechanisms, methods, positive self-talk to navigate your way through tough moments, right? So for example, for me, I want to allow more room for error. I am an overthinker and I am very critical. We're all our own worst critics, but I can tend to do so to the nth degree. And so for me, I definitely just want to leave more room for not being perfect. And that's okay because we are not perfect. I want to judge myself a lot less. Growing up, I realized that I grew up in a very judgmental household. Means well, it's all love, but as you get older, you realize that some of the traditions culturally can don't always serve our best interests. And so unlearning so much that you grew up knowing can be a very uncomfortable thing to go through as well. But that's something that I also want to completely release. I want to let go before I react, and I want to spend more time in each moment, because the moments are all that we have. Would anybody else like to share how they plan to implement more gentleness moving forward? If so, please feel free to mute and share. I mean, unmute and share.
Hello, everyone. Oh, sorry.
Okay. Hi, Ashley. No, you're fine.
Hi,
Please.
I joined a little later, but I'm so happy that I joined. I've been wanting to join this fall, so I'm intending to come more this fall. But I really resonated with the first uh phrase that you shared about allowing more room for error, and that's definitely an intention that I want to amplify for myself. I think that like I just graduated college, so I'm like learning to figure out my life outside of like school for the first time, and it's been like so liberating to like schedule time to learn things just because I want to. But then I've also like noticed that there are times where I can also become a little bit like perfectionist in regards to like, you know, structuring my days in a way that reflect like this like productivity that has been kind of ingrained in me. So I definitely want to amplify that. I want to allow more room for imperfection. Like it's actually a sign that we are being creative and we are, you know, trying new things when imperfection shows up. And it's a part of life, honestly. Like if we really think about it, our days, like we can plan and have structure, but most of the times things will not go exactly as planned. So I think it's just really healthy to welcome, you know, to welcome imperfection and to do so in a way that honors like resisting capitalism. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, and I'm really happy to be here.
Yes, thank you so much, Ashley. We're happy to have you, and thank you for sharing, and congratulations for graduating. I was there not too long ago, so I understand. Just, yeah, take your time and leave room for error, for sure. That's beautiful. Gloria, would you like to share?
Yes, I will. Thank you for this workshop, and thank you, you know, I am glad that I showed up. And, you know, it's really interesting. After the back surgery last year, I found myself like my mind wanting to do A, B, and C, and D, and E, and F, and G, because I figure I could. But my body was like, no, you have to rest. So I found myself getting kind of tripped up because I thought I could do things. I took on more than I could, but I had to listen to this body of mine and say, no, I need to scale back. And so that's where I allowed room for error. It's like, okay, this is a learning experience, and I'm learning how to relax and be okay with my body, that my body needs healing. And that's because I came from a working class family where to be sick was to be bad. You know, you had to work, you had to push yourself. But this was a case where I had to learn how to listen and relax. And I'm still learning how to do that, you know, but I'm just grateful to be feeling better. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for that. And exactly, it's the little moments, the little pockets of joys that really add up to you being gentle with yourself. And a lot of times it is just that mind shift. My parents also came from working class families. My dad, you know, having to come here to America and like, you know, hustle and you know, get his paperwork and things of that nature. And my mom already being Black African American, but like really living in poverty. When I was younger, I didn't even know that we were poor because we didn't go without what we needed.
Yeah.
However, you know, it was our reality. And so we were indirectly taught that we have to work, and somewhere in that it indirectly started to define us. And so, like you said, it takes time to unlearn that. So you taking time and honoring that, acknowledging that is the first step. And I'm just so proud of you. Thank you. Would anybody else like to share? Okay. All right. You guys have been amazing today. I really just want to leave you with remembering your strength. I know how it feels to feel defeated in moments, but I don't want that to make you retreat, or at least forever. I understand that we all need moments of solitude, time to ourselves, time to reflect. Don't feel guilty for taking that time. I'm the first person to take solitude time and let people know that it's nothing personal, but I just have to realign and, recalibrate. Life changes and it's all about adaptability. Handle yourself with care a lot more often. It makes all the difference. And remember, you set the standard for how others will treat you. And yes, this is a picture from my calendars that I had this year. I have like 2023 calendars, and being in LA, you have more access to a cleaner looking beach. So that was something that brought me joy. But yes, muchas gracias a todos por su tiempo. If you have any questions, I definitely would love to stay connected. I'm also, it's so funny. My grandfather was a diplomat. So my dad is fluent in Portuguese, Spanish, and French because he traveled everywhere. And I actually studied abroad in 2016. In America, they sold for like 6 months. And I learned I learned a lot of Spanish. Like I could definitely understand it more than I can speak it, but I am looking for teachers. So if anybody's looking to just help a sister out, I would appreciate it. But yes, aside from that, my business, I have a course and I have some products as well, but I teach rookie writers how to self-publish and how to do so on a budget. I created that course after I self-published my memoir about 5 years ago. But all of that information is on my Instagram. If you have any personal questions, you can also email me. And it was a pleasure to talk to you guys. Thank you so much for your time and sharing. I don't take that for granted. And I love you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Chántelle. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
great
you
day,
everyone
everyone.
for joining us today. See you next Sunday.
Yes, thank you. Bye.
Bye. How do you feel with the workshop?
I felt good. I do feel like I felt a little nervous, just because I haven't done a virtual workshop in a minute, since COVID, but I felt like it went well. I felt like
It
the
did.
community was responsive,
How do you
and
enjoy the topic?
yes. And I'm glad people did. I mean, I know that grief is very heavy, but I know that it's very relatable. And I know especially now, people are really going through it. So yeah.
Okay. All right then. Well, thank you so much, Chántelle. I will send you the video once it finishes uploading.
Okay.
And feel free to, sign up to teach another workshop whenever you please, okay?
Okay. Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank
Have
you.
a good one.
So-
Bye.